Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Monday Night Podcast by American Scouser. I am Gally. I will be hosting tonight, and I am joined with Bickler. Bickler, how are you, my friend?
Good, man. It's Monday. This is gonna be therapeutic, I guess, but also sorry that you're put in charge of keeping this thing on the rails and keeping me in check.
Yeah, it is a random ass Monday, and we do have to get in here. So we'll already ask if you are in the audience, give it a like, give a subscribe to the page, share it with a friend. Maybe they'll come in and commiserate. Leave a comment. We could use it tonight because normally we try to stay positive on these podcasts, but there's not too much positive to come when you have 3 losses in a week. So we are going to get right into it. But before we do that, you were not with us last week. You were in Salt Lake City, and I have to ask you. Um, Dara says hello. Hello, Dara. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate the comment. Keep them coming all night. How was Salt Lake City? Have you been to Utah in the past? And
This
was
is
this trip better or worse than the
y-
last one?
yeah. So this is better. But yeah, I'd never been to Utah. It's one of the few states that I have not made it to yet. It was beautiful out there. Man, it's Salt Lake City is a weird vibe, man. Between all sort of and I know like when you get out of Salt Lake City, I think it's even more conservative and Mormon, but this weird class of cultures between the traditional like capital of Mormonism and the influx of California that's happening all over to those states, Utah, Montana, and its effect on everything, including the housing market, right? I did find it interesting that Seattle has a phenomenal cocktail and coffee scene, all things that you can't have if you're Mormon. And it's almost like they just want all the good stuff, even if they can't really have it. But it's, yeah, I mean, it was like a phenomenal niche coffee spot after coffee spot, which was crazy and also hilarious to me.
Interesting stuff. BJ says he wore an LFC shirt out, ran into a couple of Reds fans, spread the word about American Scouser. You're doing the Lord's work, BJ.
Yeah.
Well done. For all of you out there, you should also help spread the word about American Scouser. So if you could tag a friend, put them in the comments, bring them into the chat, just send them a copy of the link and see if, well, maybe they want to figure out how to commiserate one of the last weeks. You missed the Palace match. Myself and the Prince talked about it for a bit. Muchin joined us, but we really did more of his professional Galatasaray preview, which was basically just a one-sided assassination of the opponent club that we were going up against.
This is like me asking me to preview the Michigan Ohio
Yeah,
State
it
game.
was probably one of the most uncomfortable things ever. It was like, hey, I got an idea. We're gonna go up against this team. We should bring someone in, and it's like, well, who could talk worst about Satan? Oh, okay, we'll bring this guy. It was good though. Tara says plenty of positives for LFC, by the way. We will try to spend the next hour and figure out what those positives are. But
Yeah.
Paul, we'll start with you. Let's touch on the week as a whole. So Brian Shelton says, evening, guys. Hello, Brian. Thank you for being here. As always, if you have comments, questions for us, get them in the chat. We'll bring them up on the screen. We'll address them throughout the show, or just chat amongst yourselves. So, Paul, when it comes to this match specifically, and either of them, I mean, honestly, you can start with the Galatasaray Champions League match. I think there were similarities in both. How much of the Galatasaray match do you think was the bit of rotation from the Palace result? How much was kind of the kick in the teeth that was the Palace result, kind of hanging over and leading into Turkey, with the kind of that sluggish start, which also led to really never getting out of second gear at any point?
I don't know how much of that is from the Palace loss, because I thought we've struggled in multiple games to get out of second gear and start strongly like throughout this year, right? And we've got 7 matches. I'd argue probably at least 4 of those we've really struggled the first 15, 20 minutes to find our footing. So I don't know if I would blame that on a hangover. I think there's just some things like when I look at this team, it's not the same. It's clearly not the same midfield system that we saw last year, which makes me wonder like what the system is this year. I think the consistency that I see across all 3 matches right now, if we're not scoring 2 goals, we're not winning a match, which is like completely different than when we came out. Slot took this team on and we went on a run of 2-0 victories to start the year. And we were all wondering how we could be possibly this lucky to laying heads up like this with this manager. I think for me, it comes down to one really simple thing. And I think if you fix this, you're 2/3 of the way there. To me, this team over the years, and it's changed dramatically in terms of personnel, and maybe this is part of it, but it's always been a side that is pressed as a unit together across the top. And in my opinion, you can't play this system with a high line if you're not prioritizing making people uncomfortable on the ball. And somewhere along the line, that's shifted. They're not pressing as a unit. I don't think it looks collectively good. I think we're allowing people to carry the ball into our midfield, which is creating a ton of problems with that back line. And I think like we can sit here and we can pinpoint, oh, we've got 2 new fullbacks. Kanate looks terrible. We can do all that. It doesn't matter who you have back there if you're allowing people to carry the ball through 3 phases of the match, the 2 phases of the game, like from the back line into our final third, which is consistently happening. There is no prioritization on closing the ball down on either wing, so people are just crossing them in all game. I don't know what happened there, but to me, like this, we're always going to be very vulnerable until we figure that out and find a way to bring that back.
Brian says Maka's form is a serious talking point. Didn't think we'd get far into this podcast without talking about it, because it's one thing when it was always coming back off of last season. He didn't have much of an off season. He had some injuries he dealt with. He couldn't do a lot of out of like fitness training to get into shape to come back into camp. We are 10 matches in now. They have tried sitting him. They've tried playing him to form. They've tried subbing him on with different guys. You talk about a tweak to the midfield. Has there been a tweak that has made Maka less viable of an option? Because it doesn't look that way to me. It almost looks like he is a little bit, everyone wants to say out of fitness. I'm almost not even willing to give him the benefit of the doubt anymore that he's not fit. I don't think he is fit, but is it just that it's getting to him that there's more competition in these spots and Szoboszlai is playing so well and almost is undroppable, and he can't keep up with the form because he actually looks 2 paces behind everybody else in the midfield.
Yeah. I think there's some like legitimate concern and credence to the fact that, is he looking legged? Has he lost something? Is he playing through an injury? Like, has he played too many minutes over the course of the last 2.5 years? Is there something to all that? Maybe. I think the biggest thing with McAllister is like where McAllister really sort of like where we got the best value and bang for what he brings to a side is when we were playing a midfield 3 that essentially was interchangeable, right? When you had 3 sort of almost utility midfielders. What's happening with Wirtz coming into the fold and the way that Gravenberch is continuing to sort of develop, and how Szoboszlai is developing, is it's seeming like Slot is he has 4 midfielders essentially that were in and out of this rotation who were sort of utility midfielders who now seem to be specializing in what they do inside of that midfield. And I don't know if that's part of the systematic change. I don't know if that's just a natural part of how these players are progressing at this point in their career. But to me, the biggest issue and the biggest sort of like elephant in the room is we all got very excited when Slot said that he was bringing Wirtz in, and he sold Wirtz on Wirtz was sold on the project of Liverpool and exactly how he would function inside of that project. And I think the real problem that needs to be addressed, and that a lot of people are concerned about, is the fact that we don't know what that is. That's not clear to anybody. And like, I think we have a tendency sometimes to overcomplicate football when it's not going well and oversimplify it when it's going well. And right now it's not going well. So we want to point to X, Y, and Z and all these players. And it just comes down to the fact that whatever we sold Fiertz on, we haven't implemented that right now. And like, I think that's 100% on the manager. And this side doesn't have an identity anymore. It used to be we had this midfield three. We rotated the ball out wide. We attacked from wide positions going forward. Slot is very much wants this to be a possession-oriented side that attacks through the middle. But we're not seeing, like, there's either a disconnect between what he's doing and what these players are doing, or he's not implementing that inside of this team during training throughout the week. And I don't know what the answer is. But to me, it's like it's all coming down to McAllister's in the same boat as every other midfielder in this group, where like I don't see a defined identity. Gravenberch is getting through on quality right now and just dropping deep. Szoboszlai is just getting by on the fact that he's so good at threading that midfield. And he's the only player that really ties that front three to the midfielder, to the midfield sort of quadrant. And that's why he's so important. It's also another reason why he can't be the fullback. And so I think McAllister gets caught in between both worlds where he's not going to be able to drop deep and be that D mid. He's not going to be the guy that's your runner going forward and knitting that forward. So what is he really doing? It doesn't seem to be a midfield that sort of has that genie holding role where you just basically recycle and rotate and hold possession and break up play, which is when he was at his best, what he was doing, even though everybody wanted him to go further forward. So I just think there is there's an identity crisis in the side, and it starts with our inability to press as a unit, and it starts with our identity in midfield.
Dara says, I agreed, but Slot has told Grav to push forward and for Mo not to track back. So one of that, I'll say, he told Mo not to track back last year, and we won a title doing it. So we kind of prove where that works. It also helps when you have Gravenberch deeper on the right-hand side, Szoboszlai covering his area of the pitch where he's supposed to track the opposing fullback running back into our defensive third. And then you had Konate at a fine form covering for Trent and all that open space. Like everything was shifted. So basically Mo and Trent didn't have to defend. And the other three guys did all the defending in that area, but it worked out. When we look at this side, Gravenberch has been going a lot further into the attack and instituting himself into the attack, which I don't think by any means is helping whoever is on the left-hand side of that midfield playing alongside the two of them. A lot of times that's been an out-of-form McAllister, which has made him look weak. At times, by the way, it has made our best player this year, Dominic Szoboszlai, look vulnerable because occasionally when he plays in that deeper midfield defensive position on the left, he's also not tracked his runners like the Atletico Madrid game, which, by the way, has also made Kirkez look worse, which is the newest player getting the most heat of anybody, who's probably put in collectively outside of Ekitike, the second most quality performances, and is probably taking too much stick. But we'll get to Ekitike, or we'll get to Kirkez, we'll get to Virgil and that whole situation. But when it comes to the midfield, is there an argument, Paul, for all that worked last year in this too deep semi-pivot, that ultimately what this side really needs more than anything to unlock Wirtz and to get the most out of Szoboszlai is really for Gravenberch just to be told to stop going forward and play as a number 6 and drop in between these two center backs when we need you to, and make it more of a 1-2 midfield that then leads Wirtz playing on the left, Szoboszlai playing on the right, feeding into Mo, feeding into Gakpo and Ekitike, because right now we have no outball. We have no outlet anywhere on the pitch. And we've seen it with the playing out from the back in the last 2 matches. It's just absolutely destroyed us.
I mean, I think there's an argument for that. It all comes back to like you can't drop Soboslai, but if you play Gravenberch in a 6, I don't know that that's a good enough midfield to hold up in the Premier League. Like in terms of like you have Wirtz and Soboslai, one of those has got to drop in occasionally and help out defensively. And like, I guess I have questions about whether Wirtz can do that consistently and whether you're getting the most out of him. And this goes back to like what we've always said. We have always gotten excited about these attacking midfielders when they come to Liverpool. We've had 12 seasons where we just can't figure out how to play with the 10. Well, I don't want to say 12 because I think Brendan did it like back in the day with Coutinho, but like it's just very, very difficult to figure out how to work an attacking mid into this system. I almost think like you almost have to play with a stronger defensive midfielder in there than you're getting from Soboslai. But I think there's something he said about like, do we change the shape and go to a single anchor? You probably could do that, but I think then you're saying like, oh, we're losing a lot of what we love about what we get with Gravenberch. So like, I just feel like it feels like death by a thousand cuts where you're being forced to pick the best option, but still losing the best parts of players when you do that. And that's where I mean, look, the excuses are out the door. Like Slot has this thing. Like these are his players. This is his system. He sold this project to this player. He's got to make it work. This thing should be looking better week to week, not worse. And that's the concerning thing is it's looking worse. And like, I think we have to be realistic and say, hey, like we're 7 games in. We're a point better than we were last year when we won the league at 7 games in, right? So let's keep that in mind. Like, I know that everybody is calling I know there's a lot of shouts to like fire this manager, which seems a little bit insane to me.
Well, that's ludicrous. We're not even entertaining those on this podcast. If people in the chat want to have them, you have the right to your opinion.
But it's out there.
I made the comment on our page. Everyone has a right to their opinion. Everyone has a right to be frustrated and angry. But truly, at this point, if you're ready to jump ship off a manager that's just won the league and has really shown you that they have tactical nows to make changes, I expect this to get better. I really do. And I never expected, to be honest. If I asked you, Paul, going into this season, knowing what happened in the summer, knowing how many changes they were making, and knowing that that was the fixture schedule that we had to start, I agree we shouldn't have 2 league losses, but you could argue both of those are a individual error away in stoppage time from being draws. And if that was 4 wins, 1 draw, and a loss, I think every Liverpool supporter would have snapped their hand off at that, knowing you had to play Arsenal, go away to Newcastle, like go away to Palace, go away to Chelsea.
For sure.
None of those are easy fixtures. Like it's getting overlooked at how tough the start was.
Yeah, for sure. I think the main thing is like, like the difference this year is really the summer that we had and the expectations coming into this year, right? Which were like, we overshot the mean last year. We won a title. So that sets you up for already enormous expectations going into this season. You spend 400 million pounds in the summer. I know we sold players, right? But anytime you spend that and get the caliber of players you get, people, when you get like 2 of the 3 best signings in all of Europe in one window, that just piles on the expectations for what you expect. I hear you about like, yeah, we won games that, we would like snap each other's hands off if we said we were going to win going in and like have this start. We did. But I think it doesn't feel like that because so many of these wins were just done at the death of the match, right? And
100%.
so like the flip side is we've lost a couple of those at the death of the match, right? I think the concerning thing and the thing that's really sticks in my craw and is hard to talk about is the fact that like despite all that and despite us having a tough start and despite having to sort of manufacture results out of all of these new players in, the system looks disjointed and more confused by the week. And that's the really concerning thing. It's because
So
not only does it not look like it's gelling, but like the answer to the issue doesn't appear to be writing itself.
so let me ask you, how much of that, and I'm not even putting all of this at the manager's feet, because I think injuries, fitness, fixture congestion. I think there's been a lot to add to this. I think the Leone injury is actually a much bigger piece of this because it forces you not to rotate even at center back because you're down one and one of them is Joe Gomez. So if he goes down, then you're really in trouble, right? Like they have Reese Williams training with the first team again. Like that lets you know where we are back at in our center back ways. So how much of this comes down, Paul, for you to how much chopping and changing has happened? Like last year, we questioned there wasn't enough rotation. So far this year, we have seen 2 starting left backs, 3 starting right backs, 5 different players start in midfield, and 5 different counting the League Cup, 6 different, I'm sorry, counting the League Cup attackers start, right? And let alone the 2 keepers. But at what point here, and it isn't as much the fact of which 11 are playing, but where they're playing. Because the
Right. And
Bradley
that's
Soboslai thing to me
yeah.
makes me feel like the midfield can't ever get used to playing in a certain way. Because I'm sorry, as good as Soboslai is at times, he's not a right back, and he plays right back like he's a midfielder. And that doesn't make your defense or your midfield any better.
No, I agree with you. I think, there's definitely has rotation, change, injury, all that stuff plays in, right? I think my concern is like not only does the system itself seem to be like lacking some sort of identity and it doesn't seem to be developing, progressing, getting better or more identifiable, but like when you are playing portions of your matches where you are leaving a player like Gomez on the bench and deciding to play a good portion of that match with 2 midfielders in the fence, when you're chasing a match and you bring in Endo instead of going to an attacking option on your bench, like those are the things that I really start to like question like what's going on, what's the shape of the squad genuinely, and where is the manager's head at right now?
Yeah, we'll get to specifics of the Chelsea match. We got a little ways to go here. I wanted to ask you a few more things about kind of the squad and the buildup and going into this international break because that Chelsea match did frustrate me. The second half substitutions, I mean, what the manager does with Endo there just totally does my head in. I will just say it now. I wonder if that was his best way of telling everyone on the pitch, like, hey guys, I will take a point and snap this one off right now. Like, I'm putting on Endo here. We're not bringing on Chiesa. The fans aren't singing the song. We're not trying to get the last minute winner. But then 5 minutes in, Endo's bombing down the right wing, making you be like, what in the Christ is happening? Like, this doesn't make any sense. He's attacking and pressing when no one else on the pitch is pressing. But we'll get to Endo because I know you're a big fan of Endo's
Damn,
and
yep.
have been for a while now. And we'll talk about his role and what he brings to the side because I question whether or not he still warrants a place on this bench as the season goes on because I think it's starting to look like his role in the game has passed him by. And if these are the tactics we're going to play, I don't know that he has a spot. I'd rather Trey Leone there because Trey Leone can come in and run and give me something and
Right.
create something. And I'm frustrated because again, you know, West Ham, other clubs, Wolves, clubs in the Premier League were willing to pay us a profit on Endo. And everyone was telling me, oh no, he's going to play this Milner role. He's going to do this thing. And then it feels like they've adapted aside to your point around playing with an attacking 10, playing with a different type of midfield that it doesn't feel like there's really a spot for him anymore. But let's go to the start of the Chelsea match. In the build up to this match, Paul, all I heard was it was time to get away from the new signings The new signings were bringing us down. We needed to go back to basics. So he starts Kirkez, which I'm not going to lie was a shock to me. Watching Andy Robertson play, it's not as shocking. But the manager basically just sends out a brand new center forward, one who, by the way, replaced the center forward no one wanted at Liverpool ever again, and the youthful right back from the academy. Tactics, clearly not exactly last year, but he tried to go back to his tried and true midfield. He went with his best two center backs. And it still didn't work, and it still offered really no more cohesion and no more excitement. How much of that is down to the two wide attacking players not giving an outlet or any width? How much of that is down to midfielders and no build-up getting out from the back and actually creating an attack on the front foot?
I mean, I think it just goes back to sort of what I led with. Like, I felt like we pressed well as a team for the first 10 minutes of that match and didn't the rest of it. And that's when everything sort of didn't look good, right? If there's not an impetus on winning the ball in the final third for this side, everything falls apart defensively. And so, I mean, that's what you saw. And I think everything just appears to be very slow. Like, the movement of the ball is slow. The player rotations and their movement and where they get the places they take up on the pitch, slow. Like, all of those things. I think, I don't know about you, I've had enough of watching Gakpo cut in and completely ignore an open overlap. I don't know what that is all about. But if I were Kirkez, I would be tired of making that run, and I'd probably fucking stop doing it, because you're not going to get it. Like, it's open every time. I don't know what the insistence is on cutting in every time and just ignoring that. So I think Gakpo was part of the problem. Mo looks disinterested for the first time in a long time, since the last time he was sort of isolated at the beginning of that last year, where he was just kind of playing in that strange role where he's isolated up top. So I definitely think your wide players are part of the problem. I think it starts with the way that this team defends on the front foot when they turn the ball over. And I think that's the biggest thing. But, like, no identity in midfield. Your wide players are struggling. They don't look like they need to, like, they have any sort of urgency. The only player out there that ever plays with any consistent urgency is Szoboszlai and Kirkez. Those are the two that are consistently going and firing up and down that pitch right now. Everything else is just slow and looks labored. I don't know that you can get 90 ever out of Bradley. Okay. Even if he's healthy. Because he's an injury concern every 90 minutes, and he's a yellow card.
No, I mean, he doesn't even give you a chance because he picks up a stupid yellow card within 15 minutes. All I've heard about Kirkez is two-bit head, John Arnice, reincarnated, right? Like all these things, like left foot, no talent, two-bit brain. The truth of the matter is, everything that people want to complain about Kirkez for, he's trying to figure out at a brand new club. Bradley's here with his greatest opportunity ever to stake a claim at the starting right back berth at Liverpool. And all he does is go out each and every week and pick up a yellow card within 15 minutes and give his manager a problem.
Yep.
And if I were to criticize Slot for any of his substitutions, even before the Endo one, it might be taking Kirkez off. And I know he thought he had a little bit of a knock and he just wanted to get him off there. You just can't be subbing both of your midfielders every single week. And I think that's my problem with the whole Szoboszlai in and out of right back. I mean, there's been matches where Szoboszlai starts in the midfield, goes to right back, and ends up back in the midfield. Like, what are you telling Frimpong there? Like, what are you saying to Frimpong if you're making two substitutions before you bring him in to play him at a position you signed him to play at? And when the season started, he played well in the Community Shield, I thought. I thought he played well for pretty much the beginning of the Bournemouth match. Then he got a little nervous once they scored the first goal, and he kind of dropped back. And then the injury happened. To me, it feels like, I guess I'll ask you this, Paul. is now the time that the manager has to just choose one of these right back options and just start them for 3 or 4 straight matches, like meaningful matches, just to give this side some form of continuity, something to build on, something for Mo to build on?
I would think so, but I'm afraid that answer is going to be Dominic Soboslai. So I want to say no. Um, but I think like I'm also concerned you're going to play your best midfielder right out of form, yanking him to and from out of those spots. And frankly, I'm surprised that hasn't happened already. So I mean, yeah, you went ahead, you dipped into the market, you got new fullbacks. I think you got to kind of like I would rather see us lie with what we went ahead and did and just commit to one than do this consistent sort of rotation and like, oh, we're gonna play, we're gonna play based on who we're playing is how we're gonna rotate that. Like to me, I don't think you're doing any of these players any justice. Like I think you can do something like that when you have an established squad, right? But when you have this much change to a starting 11, I don't think you can do that. I think at this point, you just have to have some consistency if for nobody other than Mo. Like, I think you have to have something that there's some sort of consistent connection and sort of chemistry that you can build off of because right now, all the chopping and changing is not helping anything, especially in my opinion, when you're bringing midfield players back into this back line and you have defenders that you can bring in. It doesn't make sense to me.
I understood the Gravenberch move purely because he wanted Jones on the pitch and he didn't want to take Gravenberch off. And Kanate was once again putting in a pretty big stinker, and they
You
were
don't think
targeting.
Gomez can come in there and do that?
I think Gomez might be able to come in there. I don't think he wanted to bring Gomez in that spot because I think if he wanted to bring Gomez in, he should have brought him in for Bradley at the half at right back. And I think Gomez is being wrapped up a little bit in cotton and wool right now with the mindset of if we get out of this internet, I think there's a world where we get out of this international break and Gomez gets the number 1 shirt and he starts against United. And if it goes well, it's Gomez and Virgil for the foreseeable future at the back. I do think there's a world where he goes back into being center back number 2. Because I think and let's be real, I absolutely believe if Igor Jesus takes his deal and doesn't go to West Ham and goes to Palace, and Palace sells Mark Gahey to Liverpool, that Mark Gahey has started 4 of the last 6 matches at Liverpool. Like, I think they knew what they were doing when they were trying to buy him to be the number 2, to fight for the number 2 spot. And I think with how Kanate, and who knows, knowing Kanate, he probably would have played better than Virgil at this point, and they'd be ready to offer him the big contract he wants. So let's talk about that heart of defense right now, because in the Chelsea match, there was a lot of talk about the goal. Caicedo screamer. Anyone who's listened to this podcast knows how much me and you have loved Caicedo since basically he signed for Brighton from the club he was at in Ecuador. And we both were not only high on him as a player, we wanted him to sign at Liverpool. We also told everyone to stop clowning on him at Chelsea, because if you clown on greatness, eventually it comes good. And I'll remind everyone that we all said Rodri was a big ass flop because he couldn't get an 85-year-old Fernandinho off the pitch. We saw how that worked out for us. Caicedo is kind of doing the exact same thing. And to be fair, so is Enzo Fernandez and Lavia, because I'm not sure I'd rather a powerhouse midfield of those 3 than any other in all of Europe. But the Caicedo strike, we turn the ball over, Max out of position, can't get back. He drives forward. Everybody wants to make it that Virgil has no faith in Kirkes. I've seen Virgil do the same thing with Robertson.
Yep.
Looks a little more like, I'm not stepping up here, someone else should step up here. Like, it, once again, it looked to me like that's almost one where Virgil always gets a pass, but he's absolutely in the wrong there. Does he not need to just step up there and close that 100% down before Caicedo takes that shot?
100%. And if you're the captain, you're going to, like, your number 1 job in that position regardless of whether you're captain or not, is to just shut off the first option, which is to shoot, right? Make him go wide, make him go anywhere, but have an open shot on frame from, that spot on the pitch. Like, so it's 100% on Verge to step up there. It's nobody else's fault. Yeah, you're right. People are doing mental gymnastics to like get Verge off the hook on this. Can you imagine if that was Dejan Lovren? We'd be talking about this for 3 fucking weeks. Like, Verge has earned that at some point, right? But like in some degree, when you're losing matches in one of the goals that happens to be a part of that loss is that one, you're accountable for that, especially as the captain.
And I will say, I didn't think it was his best day overall. I didn't love the way he handled. I didn't love the way he handled the on-field decisions that were happening. The way he was kind of. I understand Anthony Taylor is a tough referee to deal with.
Yeah.
But he's also, as we've all said before, and we've said it over and over, maybe it is more of an indictment on English football, but he's still the best referee you have in English football. Yeah. So for that match, he's the ref I want for Liverpool at Chelsea, as bad as that sounds. Like, there isn't a ref I'd rather, because at least he stands behind what he says. And, he made some guys get up and do some things at times. He said, like, that's just ludicrous. And there were a couple calls I didn't love. Thought he could have maybe handed out a card or two a little earlier. There are 2 parts of the first half. And I know there was some chatter in our Discord about the backup keeper, Mamardashvili, making his Liverpool debut in the league. He obviously came on against Galatasaray. Thought he acquitted himself pretty well on the road in Turkey to have to come on in that spot in the Champions League. Made a couple key saves. Made a couple really nice saves, like some that he's not getting credit for either. Was commanding in the box. Distribution was rough at times.
Yeah.
But we talked about this in the summertime. Is it his fault if guys are literally giving him suicide balls to his right foot? Like that pass that Virgil looks at him, looks at the attacking player, and then looks at the keeper. The keeper looks like, you're not going to pass it to me. And then just smashes it at his right peg.
Yeah. And that was the thing, is like, I felt like they were like insisting at playing out of the back, and it was going to be, he was going to run point. And they were either like smoking balls over to him or not putting any pace on it and making him run and meet it halfway. The
part that bothers me the most of all of it is we talked about in the summer how they have to be cognizant of the fact that he is a left-footed keeper, and they continued to play balls to him like he was Alley. And I understand you get into a groove, but like, you're a professional footballer, and it's not like he came on in the 70th minute for a hamstring injury. He started, and you've also known since the moment Alley fell to the ground after Konate decided not to kick a ball backwards. Like this.
Also, if you're the manager, if you're the manager and you have him as your backup, or you can be like, hey guys, this is your keeper you're gonna have for like half the year. Like, you know what I mean?
Prepare for this.
Yes, because like we've gone, like, what is it? Like, we've gone on a run of at least 4 seasons where Allison has missed significant injury time. Like, it's not a matter of if, it's just when in the season does this happen.
I guess I got a lot of stick over the summer and during like the early part of the season when I made the claim here on this podcast that like this would be the season that we started to see intermittent rest for Allison, like off of international breaks, random Champions League matches, like random fucking 5-hour flights to Turkey after 48 hours. Is any of this on Arne Slot and the medical sports science team for the fact that Liverpool was playing 6 matches within 15 days, and maybe it might have made sense to give the keeper, who arguably, we talk about Soboslai, we talk about Ekitike, we talk about Virgil. The real argument is the best player at the club since the start of the season has been Alisson Becker. And if it isn't Alisson Becker, they don't have 5 wins in their first 5 league matches or the Champions League. Like, is any of this on Slot and the medical team for saying, yes, it's early, but we know, to your point, if he kicks a ball 50 times, he pulls a hamstring. It's not even like if he has, I should say this, if he is put in a situation where he is forced to sprint and kick a ball too many times in a row, it's not good.
I feel like there has to be some sort of like mandatory yoga program that like Allison needs to be like some registered for or something. I will 9 times out of 10, I will always fault a manager and a physio team when a player who has a history of soft tissue injury pulls up after playing 3 matches in a week, essentially. Like I will always put that on the physio team. And like I just it's kind of mind-boggling to me that we run into this every single year. It's also mind-boggling to me on like how innocuous the plays are that this happens with like Becker. It is always some just ridiculous shit where he'll like just go out to get a ball and he'll tap it out and then he just like grabs that hamstring. Like the minute he did it, like I was like, oh, here we go.
So we've touched on the keepers, we've touched on a lot of the defenders. You talked about playing out from the back. It has clearly been an issue and a problem, both from the overall I guess best way to say it is it's been an issue from the consistency of the play out from the back. It's been an issue with the delivery. There's been very little outlet at times, right? Like it's almost like these guys are like, where are we supposed to go? You don't have Gravenberch to get the ball to. You don't have McAllister because there's also this like lack of confidence. I don't think Soboslai and Jones carry the same level of kind of like quick moving the ball as fast. There's been a lot of talk about Liverpool missing Luis Diaz and everything he's brought because we're seeing the goals and, we check out the Bundesliga highlights and he's got a brace here and he's showing up in his, Oktoberfest outfit. Is the real truth of the matter what no one wants to talk about? What this side's really missing is Trent.
Does Trent help you there? I mean, I don't know that Trent really.
Trent got us the ball out. Trent gave us the deliveries. At times, it was those midfielders dropping the ball back to Trent, and he would square the ball, a pinged pass all the way across field to Gakpo. Trent not only moved the ball forward, Trent moved the ball to players that could, at times, not only get into attacking positions, but got you up the pitch. And I feel like right now, this side looks to me like they look around every once in a while and go, who are we supposed to pass to get out of this?
Right.
And it used to be Trent. And I think they miss it. I'm not saying they miss the player. They don't miss the defensive mistake.
I hear you. I get it. I think this comes back to the manager for me. Like you shouldn't need a player like Trent to get the ball out of the defensive back line cleanly. I get what you're saying. I think, but when I look at it, I was like, hey, when was the last time you saw Granate or Verge hit a long diagonal ball? It's been forever. So that leads me to believe that like this manager doesn't want this ball getting dumped over the top to pace merchants anymore, like Diaz and Mo. He doesn't want that.
Well, like we don't have a Diaz and Mo has no pace.
I think Mo can still chase a ball down, but the fact of the matter is like this is a manager who would rather put Gakpo and start Gakpo in this match and leave Rio off the bench, which makes zero sense to me.
So I wanted to talk about this. I was going to bring that up when we talked about the subs later. I think this is actually a cagey move by the club, actually. I think this is 100% in protection of the player. I think this is about Chelsea.
Yep.
And the whole fact that Chelsea is still claiming that they are looking into trying to figure out ways to sue over a heightened fee. And I think bringing him on in that, imagine you bring him on in that 1-1 match. And I understand how great.
I'm so petty. I would have started him.
But I think the manager thinks the kid
Yeah.
also spent 9 years at that academy before he left to
Yeah, I get
better
it.
his career. So like I I'm not I understand why they didn't. I'll ask you this. Having seen Gakpo over the last 3 to 4 matches, I'd say that's being nice because I'd argue he hasn't been good since the first half of Bournemouth. Are we getting closer and closer? Brian Shelton says, Chiesa, yes. Are we getting closer and closer to the manager finally trusting Chiesa and or Rio with a big boy start in a big boy match?
I'm gonna say no until I'm proven otherwise, because like we had a moment where we could put Chiesa in a match to go win it, and we didn't. We thought Endo was the better option, which is crazy to me.
I mean, he should have started the match at Chelsea, in my opinion. But
so here's my
another
thing.
argument.
Here's my thing about Gakpo. If this system comes together and we can, through possession, break teams down through the middle of the pitch like this manager wants to do, Gakpo is a perfect attacking option because he thrives in those roles where he eats up the middle of the pitch. And it, like, you know, he like Gakpo proved like why managers have a hard time dropping him. It's because when he's out there, he finds a way to score, even if he's a ghost for fucking 75 minutes.
He did it. He did it on Saturday. It's a prime example. That was a 3 to a 3.5 performance that gets a 5 rating because he scores the equalizing goal when he does.
Yep. And I mean, I think I think part of that is like he takes up good positions. I think he's an intelligent player. I think he knows spacing very well. I also think he's probably technically one of the best players on the pitch. Like in terms of like he's the opposite of Diaz. Whereas like he doesn't give you a direct physical threat. Like he doesn't have an X factor to his game, but he is technically so good. So good, like a pure striker of the ball, and he's just technically very, very proficient at what he does. That being said, if this team can't figure out how to efficiently move through the middle of the quadrants of this pitch and attack that way, he's useless. Because like he doesn't like in this system, when you're chasing a match and you have to have some sort of direct goal scoring threat, when has Liverpool looked its most dangerous? When it's gone back to attacking from wide spaces on 1v1 situations with pace. And Rio has been the only player that has consistently done that in the side, and he has consistently been the biggest attacking threat every time he's stepped on the pitch, which is insane to say about a kid who's like, what, 17 now, just turned 17.
Yep.
It's insane.
So my question for you is, and I'll just bluntly say it, did Liverpool make a mistake in selling Luis Diaz? And you have to take all of it into account.
Yes,
you have to take the age, the contract, all of it into account.
I'm gonna say no, and I know that's gonna be unpopular, especially when we're on the bounce and lost 3 straight. And I'll tell you why. Because it's up to this manager to play the kind of football that he wants to play with the players he's buying. And I don't think Diaz fits what he wants to do. The other thing about Diaz is like created sheer opportunities, wasn't clinical in front of goal, but got you opportunities, which you wanted in a match when you were chasing it. So yeah, but at the same time, this is not a side that's going to go in and re-up a contract on a 28-year-old when you have a player that can go in the market for good money in a summer when your manager wants to make this side his side with his players. So from a business standpoint, I think it makes sense. From a sell standpoint, I think it makes sense from a like putting the feather in the manager's cap. You just want a fucking league for your club. Like this is a manager that deserves to go get the players that he wants to get. And I think moving Diaz was part of that equation. I think it was part of the equation because I think he likes Gakpo and what Gakpo brings, even though we don't see it right now. We don't love it. I think the manager does. I think the manager really likes Gakpo. The other thing is that we don't know. We still don't know what this vision for Wirtz is. The fact that he's experimenting with him on the left makes me think that adds something to do with it too.
It very well could be. I still feel like, I mean, I've been, someone will call me conspiracy Chris or whatever it is, right? Like, I still feel like 90% of the business done this summer felt like it was done for earmarked for next year. Like it's actually for the and some people were saying, like, when we were buying the players, oh, the Isak, getting Isak and Verts is really a most solid plan for 2027. And I felt like getting Isak and Verts was a most solid plan for 2026.
For life without life without him.
Which probably starts in 2026. Like I've said this for a long time, and I feel like we're almost seeing it played out through Mo's personality and the way is and even the way the managers, I mean, we're running our offense through the left-hand side of the pitch.
Yep.
Everything is focused through the left. Now, part of that is Verts would rather go out to the left. And I want to touch on this Verts thing for a few minutes, Paul, before we go. Because I think we all know Isak is not at fitness. He looks like a player who down tools for a month and a half. You see flashes. I mean, that touch to set up Gakpo. I mean, and I do think he's actually trying to do it. I think it's patterns of play they're working on. You don't take that ball down and turn your body that way. If you want to, you swivel your hip trying to throw the ball in with the back heel. Like you're not making that touch so you can score. It is a class maneuver, and it's like for me, it's the first sign of the world-class striker that we signed. And you can almost see it in him. He felt good about it. It made him feel good. We've seen it in Ekitike. There's a raw player there, and we could do a whole nother show on where he fits in. They didn't spend this money on Florian Wirtz to give him a 3 to 5 month look in and then decide to loan him somewhere and then sell him to Bayern, right? Like, he is here to work. He's going to work.
Yeah.
What is the answer to making him work? Because he's too good.
So here's the thing is, like, when we bought him, I didn't know what the answer was. And I don't feel like I'm any closer to that, because to me, he's one of those players that's a little bit of a tweener in terms of what we historically see in this midfield. And that's concerning, because we've seen what that looks like, whether it's trying to make Coutinho do it, whether it's trying to get Carvalho in there to do it, right? Like, we've seen this before. And so, like, that's my concern, is like, he's an attacking mid that doesn't have the pace or power to play in your front three. So what does he do? He takes one of the three midfield positions. Is he good enough defensively, etc.? Here's the other thing.
You're basically telling me he's Harvey Elliott with a little bit more talent and a little younger.
That's my concern.
And my issue is that kid right now can't get into the Villa starting 11.
Yep. That's my concern. But here's what I want to say too, also about Wirtz, because I think there is this narrative out there that, he's a flop. And I know that's driven by a lot of, like, giddy Arsenal fans and fans that are, like, really enjoying this moment right now in the season. I'll tell you, if I have seen on our, Facebook pages, people basically saying it was a waste of 120 million. Most of those people are the people who thought it was a choice between Isak and Wirtz, right? And so they had made up their mind early that it should be Isak. We hate Wirtz. They've kind of stuck in that camp. I will tell you, if you think that Wirtz is playing this football and he's the person that you're going to go after as the disappointing player in this side, you're not actually watching the football match. You're looking at box scores and waiting to see him pop up for an assist or a goal. If you watch what he's doing, it's some pretty fucking incredible stuff. Like, in terms of the interplay, the passes he sees. I'm good with the work rate. I think he's been hot and cold with his touch, which I think happens when you're not consistently finding your role in a team. My main thing is, like, you sold the player on this project. So what is the project? Because it should be fucking recognizable to the rest of us, and it's not. And that's my concern with it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Paul. I wonder if this kind of talks to or maybe is what I was saying, is like, maybe the project really was this kicks into gear in year 2. Because in year one, we still have Mo Salah. We still have Cody Gakpo starting every match. We still, like, in year 1, we still have McAllister on this side of the wing. Like there might be multi-year plans here that they think they can change the way this goes. Because you've said it before, like, I don't think we're ever going to play 4-4-2. Like, I'm not out here advocating that or thinking we're
Right.
going to play a 3-5-2 system. But there's no way, in my opinion, they spent 240 million pounds on 2 strikers with the intention of the 22-year-old being the backup for the next 5 years. Like, they have a
Right.
world where these two are going to be the front men together, in my opinion. And I feel like maybe they think that's how they get the best out of them with, you know, Ekatike, either Ekatike playing off Isak and Vert's out left, to your point, or Vert's playing off the two of them with more of a diamond type midfield with wing backs that are flying up high. And maybe you do sacrifice one of these midfielders or two, and you buy a Adam Wharton or a more of a box to box controller. Listen, me and you get killed for this all the time, right? We both like Zubamendi. You know what we really
Yep.
liked before it? We liked us some Declan Rice.
Yep.
This team looks like it could use a Declan Rice. Like it
Oh, yeah,
looks
for
like
sure.
it could use a midfielder that could control an entire side of the pitch. And hopefully none of our Irish brethren are listening tonight to remind
We'll
us how much
get
they hype.
really buddy worked up and say, hey, what this side really misses right now is a prime Jordan Henderson.
Oh, don't do that. Because our whole argument was Declan Rice was like a step up on Jordan Henderson. And
Yeah.
people were like, half the people hated us for liking Declan Rice. The other half hated us for saying that Jordan Henderson wasn't better than Declan Rice.
Yeah.
All in all, Paul, I guess I got to ask you this. We come out of this against United. If it's up to you, don't tell me what Arne Slot does. If it's up to you, how are you setting up that team? And what is the team taking into account international breaks, travel, all that jazz, right? We come back from international break Sunday afternoon, sun shining at Anfield. What lineup do you think ends Amorim's horrible reign at Man United?
If I'm setting this side up, I'm probably going backline Kirkes, Van Dijk. I don't think I'm ready to pull the trigger on Konate yet. Okay, I'm close. I probably start Konate. I'd stay at Frimpong at right back. I toyed with the idea of whether I go Joe Gomez here, right? But I'm kind of where you're at. Where like I think like we've got to have a legitimate chance to find some solidarity, and I think you gotta throw some consistent, like your hat in the ring for some consistency. I think you went and bought a fullback, and we can argue till the sun goes down on whether he's actually a right back or whether we wanted him to be more of a wing back / right wing substitute during AFCON. I don't think you're buying that player for AFCON.
No.
So I think I would give Frimpong.
You might be buying him for the year after Mo leaves.
All right, so my midfield, I'm going Gravenberch, I'm going Soboslai, I'm going Curtis Jones, okay?
Yeah.
Until McAllister shows me otherwise, Curtis Jones has earned this on merit. He can do multiple things in that midfield for you, including drop into a double pivot and do very well at it. To me, it makes no sense why he's being used as a rotational piece when this side is lacking what is lacking in that midfield. I'm going Curtis Jones all day. Mo Salah writes himself in still, despite being poor. On that left side, this is the kicker, man. Like I think I don't know if I'm ready to pull the plug on Gakpo yet. But I'll tell you what I'm ready for. I'm ready for seeing Rio in 25s and 30s and not 5s and 10s.
I agree.
So up top, I'm starting Nkateki, right? Until I see a fit Isak. I'm starting Hugo. I think he does a lot of the work. I think he drops back and does a lot of the dirty work and helps out, gives you an additional midfielder at time. You also said we don't have an out ball. I think what Hugo does really well is drop deep enough to give you an outlet, and then he hits those players going forward, whether it's a Mo, whether it's Gakpo's slow ass on the left. But he does at least trigger counters by dropping deep and getting that ball out.
He definitely does. The only thing he doesn't do is he doesn't operate inside the box. And
Fair.
I think like you saw that in that match against Galatasaray in the first half when Frimpong actually was doing a good job of beating his man, beating the fullback, and getting balls into the box.
Yep.
And there was no one there, and all I heard was, "Oh, he gets to the byline and crosses, and he can't pick a man out." And like maybe it was Kazi on the Friday morning show said to me, like, "You can't always pick a man out. Sometimes your job is to beat the guy, put it in a dangerous spot, and hope one of your guys will actually be where they're supposed to be." And I do think at times Ekatike looks to me like a striker who likes to play more like a number 10. And like he admitted it, right? When he got here, he said, my goal or my job to start last season wasn't to score goals, it was to create them for Marmouche. Like when he was at Frankfurt, like that was his mindset. And then it changed and he had a really good second half of the season. So
I still think we could do
sides there.
I still think we could see him do like a TK, if he gets used to hitting that trailing run, right? He could also, like, I think there needs to be a real conversation because you know who's good at getting into the box in those situations? Gakpo. So, like, if we could find a world where Gakpo can kind of fold in and TK can do sort of the overlap behind on those situations or just hit the trailing far post.
I just hate to say it, man. I don't see. I mean, Isak's going to get more minutes for Sweden than Ekatike will get for France during these next 2 weeks in the international break. And that's a fact because one guy starts every match and we want that, right? Because we want him to get minutes in his legs. He's still the record signing. I just have this feeling like unless the manager's ready to start them both together, and I personally am not, and the reason I'm not is I'm not willing to leave the bench without that type of a level sub. Like I feel like until this team starts to click and you know the starters are giving you a goal or two and your subs are being asked to score the go-ahead goal that sees out the game.
So are you starting Isak and giving him what, like 60?
Yeah, I think Isak will start the United match. I think Isak will start the United match. I actually think, I don't know why, I think this could be the one where the mold gets broken and he might actually just say, I had this Italian freak and he was here training the entire time. And if I don't start him eventually, people are going to kill me and nothing's working. We've lost 3 in a row. No, but I do think like there's something like everyone at the club talks about how international breaks come and the players leave. And Federico Chiesa trains with the under 19s and he buys them lunch every day. And
I fucking love him so much, dude. I love him so much.
And like Craig Bellamy says things like all he does is teach the young kids how to be better professionals and help them and ask them what they need from him. And like they all know his name, like they all know him. Like he's a member of their squad because he's been around so much. Now, part of that's on him because the motherfucker's been trying to get to fitness for fucking 3.5 years.
Yes.
So, and he's got to raise his hand at some point and say, maybe some of this is on me too, because I can run for 15 minutes like a madman and do a knee slide like nobody's fucking business, but I can't do it for more than 28 minutes at a time, or like I'm useless. But I feel like there's a time. So I'm going to go out on a limb that someone else starts on the left. So I'm going to go with Chiesa on the left. I do think it's Kirkez. I think it's the same back four you said. I want Gomez, but I think they will start it. I disagree. I don't think it will be Frimpong. I think it will be Szoboszlai. I thought
I was doing what I was doing and not what I thought Slot was doing.
But now I'm telling you what I think will happen.
Okay. All right.
I think Szoboszlai will start it right back. I think Wirtz will start in the midfield.
Oh, dude.
But I agree with you. I believe Jones will start. The manager can try to shoehorn Amaka in, right? It is hard to shoehorn Amaka in this form, coming back from a flight from Argentina. And they're going to play him. And like on one hand, people are like, well, he should get minutes. Maybe that Argentina, like playing in that midfield will get him back to his best. There's nothing that a flight to South America will do for your legs other than fucking crush them.
He looks like Weekend at Bernie's every time he comes back from international break. It's worse than Robbo, who always looked like, they just basically glued his parts back on and put him out there after, like, Scotland put him at left wing and ran him into the ground for like 4 games in a row.
So we won't be back together before Manchester United. They've had an interesting one themselves, got a good result for themselves against Sunderland. They had to win that match at home. They won it, got some goals. All good vibes. It's usually the right time to catch United is when they think things are going good. They probably feel like they're catching us at the right time. Result?
What a scary one, man. Especially
there is no answer that is correct. You could say 3-0. I tell you, it's absolutely could happen. You could tell me they lose 1-0 on like a ridiculous long throw-in in the 97th minute, and I wouldn't be shocked. Like, what is the result, and what's the most important?
All right, I'm gonna go 1-1, and I hate it. I just feel like we're struggling offensively. I don't know that an irrational break helps that. I don't think we're keeping a clean sheet, but I also don't think United is going to go beat the brakes off us and run us off the pitch. I'll go 1-1. I hate it. That's what my gut says, though.
Brutal. I am going to go for a victory. But I will say this. I'm going to go for the Timuchin special 3-1, right?
Okay.
But here's the thing. The most disappointing part won't be conceding, and it's that we're nowhere closer to the performance we want. And I think I would take 1-1 and a gutty Champions performance at home rather than a 3-1 ugly victory, even though we need 3 points more than anything in the world. So with that, we went over a little bit tonight. Thank you for everyone who was in the chat tonight. Thank you for all those that commented. Brian, Shelton, Dara, Maka, all the different Josh, everybody in the comments, SSB28. Appreciate you all. Please like, subscribe if you haven't already. We will be back. We will not have any morning coffee or tea shows this week. We'll be back early next week. We'll have our Monday night podcast. We'll have the Thursday night podcast, I believe, potentially the panel show as well. But mostly we're going to take the mornings off this week to recoup, get back together, and we'll get ready for this run. It's a big set of matches Liverpool have coming up. I think it's United, Brentford, Villa. That's 9 winnable points before you travel to City. So it's time for the Reds to get back on the snide. It's time for the Reds to get ready. We're here for it, and we're here to hear your opinions. Talk to you.